Some people say size matters, and when it comes to digital signage, size and video walls go hand in hand. Video walls are quite the showstopper. They're often used in lobbies or someplace where the public can see them, and it's a real wow factor kind of a thing. So we're going to talk about some of the ins and outs of video walls and what they're capable of and so on and so forth. To that end, I am here with Joe Murray, systems engineer and architect for Visix. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Derek. How's it going?
Excellent. I'd like to thank Joe for talking to me today, and I'd like to thank all of you for listening. This is digital signage done right. Whether you're new to digital signage or a seasoned pro, this podcast gives you practical advice about systems, communications, and content to better engage your audience. I'm Derek DeWitt, communications specialist for Visix. Welcome to Digital Signage Done Right. So, video walls, they're big, they're bold, they're beautiful. What's going on with them? I mean, they're cool, right? I mean, people,
they're very cool.
They're a big, what is that?
Absolutely, yeah. What I found was when I used to work in support, when I started at Visix here, when I did a lot of on-site stuff, consistently customers loved the video walls. You know, anytime, they found out the organization ordered like some 12-output player or something like that, they always got really, really, really excited. And so, yeah, they really are very cool. They really are eye-catching, which is obviously important for digital signage. And, just like you said, the bigger, the bolder, the crazier the size and implementation, just the cooler everything is as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so why would I do it? I would do it in a lobby as a kind of a, this is who we are
Absolutely.
kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
Right?
So, for example, a good lobby implementation was we were working at a customer site, and they actually had, I think it was 12 displays. They were all full HD each in portrait mode, side by side, and they were bezel-less. And they actually had them under their main front reception desk. And so basically the whole desk was made of displays, and it was like the coolest thing.
So the person behind the desk is just floating.
Basically,
above
yeah.
The
and it was great. They had their company logo. They had like their directory there. That customers could just walk up and see that. It was great. And so it was crazy eye catching. And this was a brand new building, so it just
and they were bezel-less, so it really looked
very seamless.
Very seamless.
It was great.
Wow, that's really fantastic. So obviously, that's one reason to do it is to make a statement
Absolutely.
Of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Why else would somebody use a video wall? Are there other reasons, or is it just bragging?
I mean, if you're some type of media production company or some type of high-tech company, you usually want to show off your own work. A lot of customers we've had will, take some videos that they've made in-house, things like that, and just throw it up on a wall just to say, yeah, this is the type of content you can expect from us, things like that. So I'd say generally it is a lot about statements. I haven't seen too much of like touchscreen interactivity, although I have every once in a while.
Yeah.
And so not a ton of wayfinding, just little unique cases here and there. I've found mainly it's just a statement type of piece.
Right. So obviously, what kind of stuff can you show on here? Obviously, like you said, we can show big, bold videos.
Right.
Sort of this is what our company does.
So I've recently enhanced our video wall offerings across the board. And so one thing that customers basically were demanding, and something that I totally understand that they wanted, was that they wanted one video to be able to play per output. So our 4-output player can play 4 videos simultaneously, 6-output can play 6, 8-output can play 8.
So like 6, so you could have 4 screens with a 4-output, 4 screens,
right.
Each one showing a different thing.
Exactly, yeah, at the same time.
Or together.
Exactly, yeah, you could have just one large video, spanned across all the displays, but basically what customers are saying, we want one unique video per output on these players.
Gotcha.
And so, for example, we had this one customer who had our 12-output player, and they had 12 distinct videos playing at once, one on each output.
Good Lord,
and
was that
it was
distracting?
It was really cool. Is what it
was. It? Uh-huh.
I know Sean actually saw it at one point as well, and he wanted it for the website and everything. It was really, really cool. And it got even better. So they actually were using 2 video wall players, and one video wall player was playing 12 distinct videos, and each of these 12 displays was actually a touchscreen, and you'd go up and touch it, and it would change the output on the display to another video from the other player. So it was this whole crazy implementation. It was really, really cool.
Wow. How does that even get thought up? Do you come up with this stuff? Or do they come up with this stuff and say, can you make this happen?
It's usually a collaboration between our sales engineers here and then the integrators engineering on their end. Usually customers themselves don't have in-house IT to come up with that. So, they'll have an integrator of their own. They'll work with our sales team.
So they go to the integrator and say, look, man, I want something cool that nobody else is doing.
Basically.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
And then they spitball ideas and say, what if we did this?
Exactly.
And then they say, what do you think, Joe? Can you do it? You go, maybe.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the name of the game is 100% uniqueness and eye catch.
Right.
And it's just really, really cool.
So, I mean, what kind of displays are we talking about here? Are they bespoke? They're just for this? Can I just go buy consumer grade stuff and throw them up together?
So that's an excellent question. So obviously, in any digital signage application, your display is pretty important. But I would say you need to pay extra attention in video wall setups because sort of what I was hinting on earlier with the bezel-less displays, you really want, in my opinion, bezel-less displays for most video walls because then you can take 4, 5, and 6 displays and sort of cram them all together. These bezels are so thin that it looks like sort of one seamless image. So that's always really great. So bezel-less is cool. LED backlit you usually really want, so you get this uniform brightness across.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing you really want to avoid is consumer grade displays. I found every once in a while consumers, and clients will just get these regular, like, oh, we went to Walmart and just got these full HD
TVs,
displays.
basically.
Yeah, just they're TVs, yeah. And like I'm not knocking the consumer market. They're good and fine, but those displays are not meant to be on all the time.
Right.
They're not calibrated from the factory, so one display might look different from the one right next to it.
Which is not going to be awesome.
Which is not going to be great. And then that's really hard to fix later, and our hardware has nothing to do with that. And so, a client will say, hey, why is there a blue hue on this display and like a warmer orange hue on this display? And the answer is, that's your display. You need right.
Yeah.
And you really don't get that in the higher end enterprise digital signage display.
Right.
market.
And those bezels the frame around the screen, the bezels are quite thick.
Exactly. Absolutely. Now, our hardware does contain a software utility to try and compensate for bezels. And so, if you do have some bezels or you do have even thicker bezels, we can try and take care of that during implementation of the video walls, but ideally you're going to have, pretty thin bezels. It'll just look better anyway. But.
Is it cheaper for me, let's say 12, I want a video wall that's made of 12 displays. Surely there's a display out there that's actually one display that size. Is it cheaper for me to go the 12 linked together than to buy the big thing?
Usually it's cheaper to get 12, unique, discrete displays and put them all together as opposed to making one giant display.
Like 40 feet or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those displays, we can power those, and we do have some clients with those. But those are usually built of what's called like micro tiles and micro LEDs. And
right, crispy.
Exactly. Yeah. And that gets very, very, very expensive very quick because it's all custom made and custom designed, and you generally have to work with an integrator to make that happen.
Right.
And it's a whole assembly process. It is really cool at the end of the day because you can even use those outside normally, if you have the correct product specifications and correct coding. Yeah, those are very, very expensive. I will say, though, they're insanely bright. I've seen a bunch of them.
That's what I was going to say. I've seen what are clearly supposed to be large outdoor displays used indoors, and it actually heats the air.
Yes, yeah,
you walk in and go, oh my goodness.
Those LED arrays.
Let's roast some sausages and pull up a chair and tell me a story.
It's eye-catching, I'll give you that much.
It's a little more than eye-catching at that point. I think it's kind of eye-burning.
It's a little retina burning.
Yeah.
I will say it is important to note that for the most part, while those LED array systems are very cool, they are generally significantly lower resolution than just a regular full HD or 4K TV.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they're meant because they're meant to be seen from a distance.
Exactly. Yeah, they're usually high up in a distance, something like that. So you'll see something that's like, 40, 50 feet wide. That's only 720p. That's not even full HD resolution.
Right.
So that's important to note because you'll get these great looking LED systems, but then they're so low res that if you put text up on them that isn't, really...
Right, it looks very old-fashioned.
Exactly. You get like blocky stuff.
Yeah. When I had a 386 way back when, like the the A, it can't make a diagonal line. It just does a series of steps.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what you get, and it's like, well, okay.
if you're going for that low tech look, that's kind of fun. Yeah,
exactly.
We like that.
Exactly.
I will say one thing I've noticed with some video walls, especially ones that, even if it's a thin bezel, but again, remember when you've got them next to each other, you got to double that bezel width. Because it's bezel 1 and bezel 2 next to each other. So now it could be quite a significant black frame in there. And you'd see, like, people are using content, say a video that they've made about their organization that they have on the web or something like that, and they haven't figured out a way to change it to incorporate the bezels. You know what I mean? So, like, there's the CEO, but the way that the video is framed and coincidentally the way that the video wall is set up, over his left eye is this giant black cross, or the name of the company, the key letter, is it's Visix, but the S is missing because it's in the bezels.
Exactly.
And so you're like, what's the name of the company? Vix?
Vix. Yeah. Trying to create content specifically for your video wall is very, very important. You really don't want to just...
I think it's challenging,
I can definitely see it as that. You really don't want to just take the same content you're putting on your regular, single output players and just say, yeah, it'll look even better just blown up. Well, you need to take
First
some of
off,
the things...
is it the right resolution?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to take some standard resolution picture and say, yes, perfect, let's put it up on this huge display array, this huge display matrix that's 8K in total resolution.
Right, it's all pixelated and exploded, and you're just like, oh my god.
Exactly. So there definitely are considerations you want to make, and really, especially with video. One thing that comes to mind, this is something I was telling you before the recording, is do you want a one video per output, or do you want just one large scaled video up? Because
or to flip between them even.
Or flip between them, exactly. You can use layout playlists to take care of that in Signage Suite. But if you are doing that huge stretched video, you're going to want to render the video at the video wall's native resolution.
Yes, because I've seen video walls with stretched video images, and again, it just, if the video wall's to make a statement, the statement you're making is, we're amateurs.
Yeah, basically. The aspect ratio gets thrown off, the resolution's completely wrong, and so you walk in and you see this really cool hardware with all these great displays, and you're just like, oh, the content is okay.
Really mediocre. Yeah. You should be looking at a video wall and thinking, that is cool, instead of, wow, that could be cool.
That's almost cool. Right, exactly.
If I have to slip into a conditional, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, right. And so you really want to work with your content creators, whether they're in-house or contracted, to say, hey, we've got this new video wall set up, and we really, really want to make sure that the videos are set up properly.
Right. Or even if we're going to take this video that we've had on the web for ages, can we adapt it? Sure. Change it, shift the elements and stuff like this, and so that we can incorporate, if we do have bezels, if we can incorporate them into the design so that they're not intrusive.
Sure.
So obviously there's a lot of flexibility with a system like this, because it's essentially one big screen, but it's also not. It's also a bunch of individual screens, and you can play with that. What are some of the coolest, most interesting, most innovative projects you've seen?
One that I saw that I just loved, it was basically this customer that had just gotten this new headquarters, and they really wanted to put everything to the tens, just really blow everyone's minds. So they got one of our 8 output players, and it was actually only powering 7 displays, but they were full HD, all in portrait, all crammed together, and they had, so it was all in a line, and then they had this...
Oh, so it's just...
Exactly, it's just 7 displays in portrait in a horizontal line.
Okay.
And they had this touchscreen system set up and, working with our hardware, and they were running Engage. And basically what they'd ordered a creative project from us. And what would happen is you're in this meeting in this new headquarters, and you've got this video wall behind you. You could actually turn around and touch anywhere on this creative project, and it would start playing music from this company. This company basically runs a bunch of radio stations.
Right.
And it was really, really great because, all the executives could just see exactly what their company
what's going on in Chicago.
Exactly, yeah. It's all over the U.S. And so we thought that was really, really great that, it's using so much cool, unique stuff. It's got our creative services involved. It's got a giant touchscreen involved. It's got, a multi-output player involved.
It's in their conference room. That's interesting. That's where they chose to do it. That's quite interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. And the conference room, I guess it's worth noting, did have a glass wall directly adjacent to the video wall. And so people just walking by in the lobby could see it too. So I'm sure that was part of it.
That's smart. So it's almost like they planned this.
Absolutely. So it is. So it's really cool because it's eye-catching, but it is also functional. It does something specific to the company's product too, which is really, really neat.
Yeah, that's a very smart thing to do. And I think that's kind of the best of both worlds because I know that there have been clients in the past that have just said, "We want a video wall," and you say, "What do you want to put on it?" They say, "I don't know."
Cool stuff.
Cool stuff.
Right. So that was really, really cool. Another client that I mentioned earlier, had multiple player types and multiple video walls, and you could go up, touch any part of the video wall, and just that display would change to another player, which had its own video going and had its own directory and everything. So that was really, really cool, and they actually did all that in house. They had a very incredible creative team there.
Fun. I mean, it's not cheap. As cool as it would be, a car dealership's not going to do this. A restaurant's not going to do this.
Not super likely, yeah.
Right. Maybe if you're the MGM Grand Hotel and that's where your restaurant is, maybe.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Speaking of that, another client I just thought of, they were a hospital, like a surgery center, and they actually had one of those giant, I'm not sure how tall it was, maybe 20 feet, maybe 25 feet tall, and probably about 20 feet wide, and it actually had a 90-degree kink in the middle of it, so it went on a column of one of their...
So it went around the corner.
Exactly. Oh, that was super cool.
That's cool.
That was super, super cool. And it was actually, even though it was huge, it was very low res. It was only like 640 by 480 or something, but it was really high up in the building. And so it worked great, yeah. And they would play videos on it that would change depending on the season and like the weather outside, and that was really, really cool. Everyone that walked in always loved that.
I'm glad it was a guy. I thought you were going to say that you tap the screen and it would show you a live feed from the surgery theater.
No, that was a little too risky for them. They
is that a pancreas? What is that?
It's a learning opportunity.
Yeah. So, what are some of the? I mean, there must be some video wall fails out there.
Yeah.
You must have seen a couple. We won't mention names, but you know who you are.
Let me tell you these customers. No, unfortunately, due to the complexity and the use of multiple teams to really make everything look so seamless.
Yeah, because it's a lot of people.
Absolutely. It is a coordinated effort. And so, you've got to have our techs in on this. You've got to have your integrators in on this. It had to have been designed well, your integration engineering team. You've got to have your creative department just, making stuff at the perfect resolution. It is a lot. And so, unfortunately, there have been a few stories during implementation. It's usually during implementation.
Right. Eventually it gets ironed out.
Exactly. Yeah, eventually it gets ironed out. It better be. Yeah.
This much money and effort into it, you're not going to go, well, I guess it stinks, but
let's
just get it up. This is the launch date. It's on my calendar.
Exactly. So it is usually during implementation that we'll run into some weird thing like, we don't have the right adapters on site, or, the video distribution hadn't been tested properly. A lot of these players, due to their form factor, will be in like a networking closet.
Right.
And not actually like behind the displays, although it's not super uncommon for them to be behind. But basically there's video distribution involved, and that can cause issues. EDID emulation, has to play a factor sometime. It can be a bunch of stuff. If your videos weren't encoded properly, they could lag and not be at perfect 30 or 60 frames per second. There are a bunch of things that can go wrong. So yeah, we have had a few customers where the implementation just does not go perfectly, and it's frustrating for everyone. We certainly don't want to see that.
No.
We think they're cool just like you. That's why we make them.
Right.
So we want to see them work.
I mean, how much testing do you have to do on something like this?
You want to. It's quite a bit. You want to test. In a perfect world, you're going to test every component separately. Like, okay, yep, the player is outputting, video on every single output, and the software is connecting to the server properly. Our software is working with our server, and video distribution is tested and good to go, and the displays are all good. There's no dead pixels involved.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff. So in Joe Murray's perfect little world, every single little component would have been tested before an implementation.
Right.
I mean, you know how it goes. These things are complex. There are deadlines in the real world, and you sort of say, well, it'll probably all work. Just put it all together.
Thumbnail sketch, ballpark figure. How long from, hey, we want to do this, until, all right, we're ready to go? Is it a month, 6 months?
If the customer already has Signage Suite, then that's an excellent start because we don't have to deploy a whole server for them and licensing and all that. So let's say it's ideal. They've already got Signage Suite. They're already used to it. Maybe they've already got some content in mind that they've already been building in Access TV Design because they've got Signage Suite. And they just say, hey, you know what? We've worked with our integrator. We've purchased some displays. We just want to get some hardware from you and, put it all together.
Put it up.
It wouldn't be much longer than deploying a regular single output player. We'd ship the hardware to you in the same time frame that we ship our regular hardware, so just a few days. I would say deploying it, a regular player can take anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes usually, depending on if there's issues or not.
Right.
A multi-output player, you're usually looking at maybe an hour, 2 hours, and that's if everything's ideal, it'll be basically the same time as a regular player. But we like to put in wiggle room for customers that are not used to setting up a.
But I could conceivably, provided all my ducks were in a row and I had it all planned out, I could conceivably get this up and running in a month or less.
Oh, absolutely.
No problem.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, if you've ordered something like a creative, project from us, I'm not gonna say that our creative team's just gonna drop everything and immediately work. But yeah, if you've ordered a creative project, especially a more complex one like the one I was talking about earlier, that can certainly take some time because. Greatness takes time. You want things to look great on this. You don't want to buy all this cool stuff, have it all installed, and then cheap out on the content the last second.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, you're going to, in theory, this is a bit of this is not a lark.
Right.
You're not going, let's put up a video wall for a couple of months, and then we'll take it apart and sell it.
Exactly.
That would be silly.
But, so, you need to allot a little more time than a regular single output player. But we are aware that deadlines exist and that, sometimes... you've got a new building you're putting together, and you want this video wall up, on opening day. So we're very used to the time crunch of this needs to be set up yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's everybody's project all the time, no matter what the topic. Yeah. Except for cooking, maybe.
Maybe.
All right. Well, video walls, they are impressive, and when done right, they can even be, dare I say, breathtaking. Wow. Wow. It took my breath away. I'd like to thank Joe Murray for talking to me today. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Derek.
And we'd like to thank all of you for listening. Hey, want more free stuff? Then head to the resources section of Visix.com for free masterclass guides, blogs, videos, and more to help you with your digital signs. Please share, subscribe, and leave a review of this episode, and connect with us on social media.